I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done.
You ever just fall in love with a band and then later down the line you just kind of forget they even exist? Or maybe you just grown to not care about their music as much as you once did? Today we're going to talk about that, and we're going to take a look at some bands that over the years I'm pretty much just been done with. I mean, these are bands that back in the day and even a couple years ago I may have been, like super excited every time they release something and all this stuff, but now I'm just kind of like, who cares? Like, maybe I'll go and tune in, but that's about the extent of it now. It's nothing that really gets me wanting to go back and listen to anything or whatnot. Like, there's just, we all have those bands. We really, really do, and it's disappointing, these bands and artists that are on here, because I do love them, but for the most part, nowadays, I just can't find myself to care a whole lot. So, these are no particular order, so let's just get it started. Oh, how the mighty have fallen with 3 Days Grace. I mean, some would say they're doing better than they used to. They're still getting #1 hits on the rock radio chart, this, that, and the other. Their albums are still selling fine. I get that, but I said this before. When they replaced Adam Gontier with Matt Walst from My Darkest Days, I kind of knew that it wasn't going to work out. This last record, Explosions, really has just turned me off from the group as a whole. At least the first 2 albums with Matt Walst, they felt like something was there, but with Explosions they somehow just continued to get more bland than they usually do. I mean, this was a band that always tried to keep it, the same when it came to making their music. It's just they had a talented writer in Adam Gontier doing it, and then by the time they did Transit of Venus in 2012 and, flipped the switch and did some things different, he left the band and they were left with either just discontinuing the band or hiring a new lead singer, and they hired Matt Walst. And again, it's just a steady decline with each record. I mean, don't get me wrong, they caught my attention with the first single to their recent album, So-Called Life, but listening to the album as a whole, you realize that's really the only good song off of the record. And I don't know, I feel like this is now like the strike 3 and I'm done with them. Like, the first 2 records I was like, okay, they're still trying to explore what to do with Matt. Maybe I'll still give them a pass. I'll give them one more record. But this past record, it really made me go, yeah, I just don't give a shit anymore. And it's sad to say, because the first 4 records by this band are such classics. The last 3, just the 2 different eras of the bands. It's like Black Sabbath. When Ozzy Osbourne was there, banger after banger after banger of albums, but when Dio joined, I'm sorry, but I'm not the biggest Dio fan, but Black Sabbath just kind of became more hair metal-y to me in some sort of way. Is that weird to say? Is it weird for me to say that? But they just became less likable after Ozzy left, and we're getting the same thing with 3 Days Grace here. After Adam left, it was just like Matt just hasn't done anything to excel the band further, and they've somehow gotten more plain than they once were. Oh, the AllAmerican Rejects, they've come so far from those first 2 records, and even their 3rd record, the one where they changed it up from the pop-punk style we've known that they did early on. They had a lot of enjoyable stuff, but they released this last EP, Send Her to Heaven, and I just wasn't feeling it. I don't know what happened there. It was a comeback, so I was super excited, and then I listened to the EP and I said, this is really what you thought you could come back with? Like, I didn't understand. Like, I knew the band wasn't going to do what they had done back then. They were going to change things up. But again, they've become so bland, again, like 3 Days Grace have, that I just don't know if I care anymore. Like, if they were to release an album sometime down the line, would I care enough to even go give it a listen or even listen to the singles? I don't know. It's come to that point. But this was a band that was part of my childhood with songs like Swing Swing and Move Along and Dirty Little Secret. It just, like, they gave me some of the best emo bangers to listen to back in the day. But now I barely even go back and listen to anything they do, and it's just kind of like, yeah, okay, they're there, so what? I don't care. Breaking Benjamin, another band that pains me to put it on here, but listening to their newer stuff, because it gets played on the radio a shit ton, I realized that this band has gone so far downhill, like, I don't even know what to even think of them anymore. because they're not really this heavy rock band like they were back in the day. Like, sure, they were still mainstream. They've always been this mainstream band, and even after they came back from their hiatus, they still kind of stuck with what worked. Now they're doing all this, like, acoustic bullshit, and I have no problem with acoustic. It's just Breaking Benjamin shouldn't be relying on that to be their thing. Like, an acoustic song or two is fine, they've had those, but they made an entire album where a lot of their songs were rewritten in acoustic, and it was just like, I don't know, I really never got the point of it, and that's pretty much the only Breaking Benjamin songs they play on the radio now, are these acoustic tracks. And it's really just making me go, I can't believe they've done this to themselves. I can't believe they, not necessarily sold out, but just kind of dumbed their music down, and it just doesn't feel like it has the same passion or oomph that it once had. And I was really hesitant to listen to that covers record, and I didn't even really like it all that much, to the point now where, again, if they come out with something new, I'm probably not even going to tune in, because I already know what it's going to sound like. Okay, so this isn't a band, but she needed to be on here, and a lot of you are probably going to be mad at me, but I have not had interest in Avril Lavigne since probably before her 2011 album came out, and that was when I really started to be like, okay, yeah, this isn't my thing anymore. I mean, I'll defend her first 3 records, that's fine. Even The Best Damn Thing in 2007, which was a bit more poppy for a lot of other people who listened to her. Her last, 4 records now, they haven't been anything that I've enjoyed for me to keep giving a shit. And I thought, okay, maybe with her going back to pop punk on this new record, maybe something will pop back up for me again, and it just didn't. Somehow she was making the dumb pop punk that everybody seems to be making now, and with her almost being 40 years old and a veteran at making that type of music, I was expecting a little bit more maturity from it, like it was back in the day before she was even in her 20s, but now we're sitting here and just wondering, why did she put this out? Like, she said this was the best lyric writing, the best songwriting she'd ever been a part of, and to me, I feel like that was worse than that pop record she put out a couple years ago, Head Above Water. Like, I can definitely get down with some of the tracks on there, but with Love Sucks, there's just forced features with Machine Gun Kelly, Mark Hoppus, and Black Bear that really shouldn't even exist, and a lot of these songs, like, they just feel like every pop punk song that you get nowadays, because what made pop punk so intriguing back in the day was it was mixed in with a lot of genres like hardcore, metalcore, emo, and all this other stuff that you could differentiate certain bands and artists from each other. But with this new generation of pop punk, they're all doing the same exact shit, just kind of copy and pasting each other and making it like it's the new wave, the comeback, and this is what made pop punk so good. And it's like, no, you're completely missing the point. These are a bunch of 30, almost 40-year-olds who don't really actually get the point of what pop punk was. Maybe they did back then when they were younger, but now this shit shouldn't even relate to you. Like, it shouldn't even relate to me as a 24-year-old, so I don't know why I'm getting excited about some sort of pop punk revival, but Avril Lavigne was the one that I had high expectations for. She's gonna do it right because she did it. You know, not these rappers turning to it or whatever, but then I realized, yeah, no, she didn't do what we thought she was going to do and just show people how it's done. I mean, Demi Lovato did a better job at it, even though she did do pop punk back in the day, but it was like Disney pop punk. Demi Lovato did it more mature than I think any of these other wannabes wanted to, and also Avril Lavigne, who, like I said, is a veteran there, who should know how to write this type of music and do it very well, but it just felt like her music got dumber, and I hate to say that because she seems like a nice person and she seems very smart, but this time it just seemed like she was taking the easy way out, and with Avril Lavigne, I don't think that's how her music should be, and at this point, I'm just done. This might come as a surprise, the 21 Pilots. I was excited for Trench because of how their last 2 albums went for me. They were super enjoyable, I absolutely loved them, and I think hearing Heathens from the Suicide Squad soundtrack, I was definitely reeled in more after that, and Trench was an excellent record. So I was highly anticipating what the follow-up to that record would sound like, and last year we got Scaled and Icy, which was just this mess of an album that didn't really provide anything new from the band. It just kind of seemed like they had all these different ideas that they wanted to throw out there at once, and it just for a 21 Pilots record, it didn't work. It didn't have that stayability that the other records before it had. Heck, I would even take their self-titled debut that didn't even chart, and regional at best, that nobody really talks about, Overscaled and Icy, because, like, aside from a few songs, there's just nothing to like about it, and it's really got me thinking, do I really care about this band as much as I did? Because I don't really listen to them that much anymore, outside of the times I hear them on the radio maybe, or if I'm at work and I have my music on shuffle and there's a song of theirs I like come up, but I'm never like actively looking to listen to their music anymore, and it's a shame, because like I said, they made some of my favorite albums from my high school days and my early college days, but now they're just kind of, they're around to me, and they're not one of my favorites anymore. And I don't want to say it's because of the last record. I just think that, I don't know, I think I became so into other things, and there's a lot of other genres and whatever that have grown on me, that when it comes to 21 Pilots, they just kind of play second fiddle to all these other bands and artists that I'm currently listening to at the moment. So yeah, we'll have to see with their next release how much of a shit I give, but right now, I don't give that much of a shit. Architects, I mean, holy hell was the first time I really realized that I liked what they were doing, and their last record is pretty enjoyable in itself, but having listened to it more and more, I've realized that they have really dumbed things down with their music to where it's just sounding like all the metalcore bands that you hear nowadays, they take from what Architects is doing now. Like, I'm not saying that I was a big fan of their heavier stuff back in the day, but when I saw that they were taking this more, you know, approach of mixing the alt-rock in with the metalcore, similar to what, say, like Asking Alexandria and Bring Me the Horizon did from their sounds, it kind of excited me, because I ended up liking Bring Me the Horizon and Asking Alexandria's newer stuff when they sort of shied away from just doing this deathcore, metalcore, let's be heavy all the time thing, and actually started to make some great melodic music where they can take things in a different direction. And they had me hooked for a bit, did Architects, but now I'm just like, see, I don't know, whereas Asking Alexandria and Bring Me the Horizon continue to grow their sound, Architects just seem to be stuck in between this wall of just, this is what we need to do because this is what people like, and I just don't know if I'm feeling it as much anymore. Like, I hear these new singles that they put out, and I'm just like, this sound the same as the singles from the last album. Are we sure that it's not just those singles? It's just, everything's starting to blend together for the worst, and that's why they've just become so boring to me. And lastly, we have Imagine Dragons. I think Mercury Act 2 really cemented the fact that I can't anymore with this band. I keep holding up hope, and yet it just keeps getting worse. Their first record is great, their second record is fine, even their third record, Evolve, which a lot of people seem to hate, has some nice moments on it. But once you start getting to Origins and then these past couple of records, you start to see that they could have been much worse from what the third record had to offer, because now it's gotten to a point where I can at least sit down and listen to an Imagine Dragons record and not be too, like, you know, like my ears won't bleed, to now I can barely get through it without just being bored out of my mind or sitting there thinking like, what the hell is this? How did they think this was going to work? Like the screaming bullshit they did on their song, Cutthroat, and all this kind of stuff, and just to the generic pop rock stuff that they're doing now, it just, I've gotten to a point where I don't really want to hear it anymore, and I think they're going to be the next band that I officially just cut off and retire from this channel, because the more and more I talk about them, the more repetitive it's just going to seem, because again, they're not getting any better, they're getting worse and less enjoyable, and the fact that they released a double album that didn't really do anything, even though it had plenty of tracks on it, it's just like, yeah, maybe they're not what they used to be, and maybe that's just a good thing for me, because now I can cut myself off from them and not have to, you know, worry about, oh, I'm gonna go take a look at this next album because there's hope there. No, there never really was hope for me to begin with hearing the singles to Mercury Act 1 and 2, but I still gave it a shot because I said, look, this is just like one or two singles off of an album that has more than 12 tracks on it, so I gotta give it a shot. But now I don't need to give their albums a shot because I know what it's going to entail, and it's going to be a whole bunch of crap. So that is it for 7 bands that I am just completely done with, don't really care about anymore. There's some other bands I wanted to put on here like Maroon 5, but you heard me talk about them enough, and Kiss, and even though I have this thing, I'm just not as big into them as I once was before. But again, you've heard me talk about that plenty of times, so I figured I wanted to talk about other bands that I maybe haven't given the biggest spotlight on this channel, and basically tell you why I'm just completely just fed up with them in general, and why you won't really hear me talk about them coming years down the line if anything gets released, or you might just not see me get as hyped or excited for the albums from these artists in particular. So yeah, you can tell me in the comments below, what are some bands or artists that you just absolutely loved back in the day that now you look at it, you're much older, and you go, yeah, I just don't know about it anymore. Whether they just keep on like putting out albums that are getting progressively worse, or maybe you just don't relate to their music as much. There's always different reasons, and I would really like to hear the bands that you have fallen out of love with and are basically just completely done with, and the reason why. I mean, it could just be the blatant fact that they sold out and you don't like that. Like, they used to make music for outsiders and all this kind of stuff, and now they're just blatantly appealing to the mainstream because they want to get the plays. Again, sounds familiar to a band I used to talk about a lot on this channel, but hey, that's it for me. Stay safe out there, wear your mask and vaccinated, and until then I will catch you all in the next one.